Our world is one of many unfortunate events. The story to be told now needed no true introduction. You may know this story as Hollywood had told it. The Exorcism of Emily Rose was a heart-pounding episode of the paranormal, and which was based on true events. Let us get to know the true person and the events that took place to create this horror classic. By the end of this, hopefully we can shed some light on this tragic story. Welcome to Is It Paranormal? Anneliese Michel died July 1st of 1976 of emaciation, malnutrition, and starvation caused by what would be known as the most controversial exorcism in history. I would first like to get to her background before the 67 exorcisms. Growing up in a religious Catholic family, Anneliese herself expressed the desire to one day become a teacher of the Catholic religion. Her mother stated that she liked life and would sing wishfully throughout the day. She said she was an intelligent girl. Anyone who encountered her shared this opinion. This all began to change when Miss Michel was 16. In the summer of that year, she lost consciousness at school, and then later that night, around midnight, she woke up paralyzed. She lost control of her bladder and her tongue felt sore. The moment quickly passed but left Anneliese terrified. A year later, however, she suffered another blackout and paralysis. She was taken to a doctor sometime after these events. The EEG concluded that her brain activity was normal. The doctor exclaimed she was experiencing cerebral seizures. After returning home, she began to act differently, unlike the kind-witted child she once was. She was then diagnosed with depression, treated at a psychiatric hospital. Sometime later, she began telling people that she was seeing ghastly double faces and hearing voices randomly throughout the night. She reported also smelling foul odors similar to burning feces. By 1973, her depression began to increase. She began complaining about hallucinations while praying. Not long after, she was hearing voices more frequently. The voices repeatedly told her that she was damned and would rot in hell. Seeing her psychiatric care as useless, Anneliese began to believe that she was actually possessed by a demon, a diagnosis that she would explain why she developed a hatred for holy places and symbols. As her condition worsened, she started displaying other symptoms, for which she began taking medication for. After taking psychiatric medication for 5 years, it had failed to improve her symptoms. This is about the time priest Ernest Alt became involved. He declared that she didn't look like an epileptic, and that he did not see her having seizures. Alt believed she was suffering from demonic possession and urged the local bishop to allow an exorcism. In a letter to Alt in 1975, Michel wrote the following.
I am nothing. Everything about me is vanity. What should I do? I have to improve. You pray for me.
She also once told him,
I want to suffer for other people, but this is cruel.
In September of the same year, Bishop Joseph Stengel granted priest Arnold Renz permission to exorcise, but ordered total secrecy. In August of 1975, the first session of 67 exorcisms took place. Interestingly enough, even though a religious cure had been sought, a medical one was still being attempted. Anneliese remained on her prescription until shortly before her death. Now, before I continue this, I would like to give you discretion. The audio clips you're about to hear are vulgar beyond end. and deeply disturbing. But I believe it's necessary for us to hear and understand where Anneliese may have been at during these experiences. As the exorcism began, demons began speaking to Anneliese in a deep demonic voice. Everyone present became deeply disturbed, and it caused the pace in which they compiled recordings in the future studies to rapidly increase. These are just a few of the files of those exorcisms.
Ich bin Nero! Ich bin der dritte im Bunde!
Noch mehr.
Halt ihr Maul!
Als Kind Gottes.
Ich hab dein Maul erschlagen!
Vivicat animamia Domino, per exultamus Deus, Deus ad carimino, Ilex exitum meditatem ancilla sue, et enim ex hoc beata medicem omnes generationes, via fecit mihi magna
Allegedly, several demons revealed themselves during the exorcism. The demons would criticize the church and exalt their own power. Anneliese would speak in tongues and attack her family with brute strength. She ate dead flies, spiders, and coal, all while drinking her own urine. She claimed to be witnessing demons dancing around the priests during her exorcisms. These terrible episodes would continue for many months. Occasionally, however, she would experience moments of clarity, but not for very long. Despite seeking medical attention early on, Anneliese refused to submit to medical attention in the end, as she and her family placed all faith in the recovery of the exorcisms. She died of starvation at the age of 23 after 67 exorcisms, weighing only 68 pounds at the time of her death. After an investigation, the state prosecutor maintained that Michel's death could have actually been prevented even 1 week before she died. In 1976, the state charged Michel's parents and priest Ernest Alt and Arnold Renz with negligent homicide. The case went to trial in 1978. What follows are the two sides of that case, in which I will separate as the defense and the prosecution. The defense. During the case, Michel's body was exhumed, and the defense also played tapes of the exorcism, pointing out demonic voices. Both priests contested that they heard several demons identifying themselves during the exorcism. This includes Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Nero, and Hitler. They also claimed that shortly before her death, all the demons within her had been exorcised out. Allegedly, they believed they were permitted to deny medical treatment due to the fact Anneliese was in her own right mind and the exorcisms were of demons. Family friend Thea Hine reported in 1976, shortly before Anneliese's death, that she, quote, begged on her knees for Hine not to suggest medical attention to anybody. Even though Anneliese refused medical treatment, Father Alt looked for medical attention towards the end of Anneliese's life. Father Renz stated Anneliese had several bruises, swollen cheek, and black eyes. The autopsy revealed Anneliese had a healthy brain with no damage that could have caused epileptic seizures. Quote, not even on a microscopic level. Her pupils were unusually dilated and had the absence of ulcers, which are frequently found on a starvation victim's body. And finally, the Michel's lawyer argued that the exorcism was legal and protected by the German constitution, which guarded their unrestricted religious beliefs. And now, the prosecution. During the trial, the doctor stated that Anneliese's possession was the result of her religious upbringing. The prosecution argued Anneliese had epilepsy and psychosis. They believed the parents and two priests were liable for failing to act to save her life. They tore down the notions of possession and questioned the credibility of Father Olt, with two experts concluding that Father Olt had exhibited signs of schizophrenia. They suggested that the medication given was successfully suppressing the epilepsy-like seizures, and argued that the suppression morphed into, quote, a delusion of psychosis associated with epilepsy. They argued that Anneliese's psychosis was exacerbated by the exorcisms, which only played into her fantasy. When the verdict came back, they were all found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 months in jail with 3 years probation. The court ruled that Anneliese was unable to make decisions for herself, and she should have been forced to submit to medical care. In most recent years, priests have started viewing so-called possessions as symptoms of mental illness, choosing to pray with victims while working alongside their doctors. Pope John Paul II made the rules regarding exorcisms far stricter. Since 1999, exorcisms could only be performed in the rarest of circumstances. Many see this case as a mental illness. Hollywood has gone and created films, in this case, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, over these events and based them on true story. But the question is it paranormal? I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and comment below with your own opinions on the video itself. And remember to hit that subscribe button and notifications for any other content in the future. I hope to see you in the next video.